Welcome to Your Case, Your Justice, Personal Injury with Empathy with Lowell Steiger.
Hello and welcome to Your Case, Your Justice, Personal Injury with Empathy with Lowell Steiger. Lowell is a dedicated Southern California attorney who has been fighting for injured clients since 1998. With a genuine passion for advocacy, he works tirelessly to secure justice and compensation for those in need. My name is Kevin Rosenquist, and today's episode is Fighting for Fair Compensation in Auto Accident Cases, What You Need to Know. Lowell, welcome back.
Thank you, Kevin. Nice to be back.
I'm glad I didn't scare you off after the first one. You made it through to the second.
You did, but I decided to come back anyway.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I guess that it worked out all right then in the end.
Yeah, it was good. You're great. Thanks.
Can you share with us some of the most common types of auto accident cases you handle in Sherman Oaks and the surrounding area? Pretty
much any kind of auto. There's auto versus auto, like two cars crashing into each other, which could be anything from a rear end case to a left turn to side swipe, anything you can imagine where two cars somehow hit each other. There's auto versus pedestrian, where someone actually hits someone in a crosswalk or something like that, which is pretty horrible.
Yeah.
Trucking, just any vehicular accident, anything where a car is involved and somebody gets hurt, I handle anything like that.
Is there anyone particular that you see the most?
I think the two most common are either left turn, someone makes a left turn in front of somebody, or a rear end accident.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially in the days of cell phones, right?
Oh my God. I know. It's so crazy. You look when you're driving and you look over and you see somebody's their car's going like this and you see they're on their phone.
Yep.
Pull over.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, what could be that important? Pull over.
Nothing is that important.
Nothing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Especially someone like you who sees the aftermath so often.
Right. I know. And I'm always looking in my mirror thinking, oh my God, I hope that guy behind me is watching.
I even think that sometimes, and I'm not a personal injury lawyer, but I think that sometimes too, where I'm just like, I don't like this dude behind me. He's not really paying attention.
Right.
Yeah.
And the thing is, that in an instant, literally in a nanosecond, somebody's life can be changed forever, permanently, because someone wasn't paying attention.
Right.
And it's very, very disheartening and unnecessary.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. What are the most important steps someone should take immediately following a car accident?
If you can, because remember, some people are so hurt that nothing they can do other than wait for an ambulance to come. But you want to try and get the information about the other driver. You want to see if there's any witnesses around that you can get their information so that your lawyer can follow up with them to see what they would ultimately testify to if this went to court. Take pictures of everything, the cars, the surrounding area, traffic lights, if there's any traffic lights around. Do a video if you can, and take pictures of the other person's information, like their driver's license, their registration if they have it with them, their insurance card. Just get as much information as possible and call the police. Sometimes the police won't come because they think there's no major injury, and they just won't come. But if you can, get the police to come there to document everything that they can. And one of the reasons for that, and there's a lot of reasons, but one of the main reasons is, when someone first gets into an accident, your adrenaline is just flying through your body, right? Like flight or fright. Your heart's pounding, and you don't know that you're hurt because it sort of numbs everything. I'm not a doctor, but I'm just going by the experience that I have doing this and what I've learned. And so you may think you're okay, and you may not be. And your car is all smashed to smithereens, and you think, oh, wow, I'm so lucky. And then the next day you wake up and you go, wow, I must have slept funny last night, because everything hurts. And it's not because you slept funny, it's because of the accident. Well, if the police had come to the accident scene and taken down all the information, it just sort of substantiates what happened. So if you can get them to come, even if you don't think you're hurt that badly, do it. Also, the minute you feel anything, call a doctor, go to the ER, go to the urgent care, do something to make sure that your health is protected, that you don't have something weird going on, and also so that everything is documented. Always want to make sure you tell the medical provider, hey, I was in an accident earlier.
Yeah. Well, you bring up a good point. For anybody who's ever played sports, when your adrenaline is pumping and your blood's pumping and I played hockey for years, and there'd be times where I wouldn't realize till later that night. I'd be like, oh, what, man, remember doing that, like because your blood is just pumping so hard, you don't even realize it sometimes that you're actually hurt, even when you're not in an auto accident. It's just like a regular, something that you're enjoying doing.
Right, exactly. You don't know, and then all of a sudden you go, oh, this is not good. You know, just a little tingling, a little numbness. And that can be very serious. Also, I always try to tell my clients, either it's now before they're my client, or afterward. Do you have any ringing in your ears? Do you have any blurred vision? Are you having any kind of forgetfulness? Words not coming to you like they normally are. And I don't try to put words in my client's mouth, by the way. Right, but I try to feel them out to see, if they have any kind of a concussion. Because people have this view that, you have to bang your head into something to get a concussion. But your brain is gelatinous, right? So when you're shaking around, your brain is sloshing around in your head. And it's hitting your hard skull in there. And you could have a concussion that you would never have imagined that you had.
Yeah. And a lot of people say something like, I just got my bell rung, I just need to shake it off. And you don't want to do that.
No, absolutely.
Yeah. Absolutely. Can you explain the concept of negligence and how it plays a role in determining fault in auto accident cases?
Sure. Well, negligence is technically, there's four elements. It's called duty, breach, causation, and damages. But negligence is basically duty and breach. So everybody has a duty to not do something that could harm somebody else, basically. Right. That's you have a duty. So if you do something like blow through a red light, make a left turn in front of somebody, drive excessively, excessive speed, whatever, that breaches the duty, right? So that's negligence. That doesn't mean there's a case. Like, you could blow through a red light, and you're negligent by blowing through the red light, but if you didn't hit anybody, there's no damages. So There's no case. But if you do, that's when it comes into play.
Okay.
And you breach a duty, and then you cause damages by breaching that duty. That's negligence. Not always 100%, by the way.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. That makes sense. And for someone who's never been in an accident before, what does the legal process typically look like from the moment they hire you until a case is resolved? That's probably a big question, but how does that process sort of unfold?
The way it unfolds is, we, as a plaintiff, because we're the people bringing the action, right? We have the burden of proof. We have to prove that the other party is at fault. We have to prove that that by them being at fault, that my client was injured, and it's their fault they were injured. So basically, what you have to talk to witnesses, if there are any, if there's any video recordings of things, you take all of the evidence and you plug that into the law to see if that actually rises to the level of breach of a duty, and therefore it's negligent. So then, and there's negligence. So then you deal with the insurance company for the other party and prove to them. If they don't accept liability right away, you have to argue with them to get them to accept liability. And then from that point, while the client is treating and getting better, things are kind of just at a standstill. When somebody is done treating and they've reached what they call maximum medical improvement, hopefully, then we gather all of their medical records. We gather all the other evidence, like police report, witness statements, and all of that, medical bills. We put that all together in what's called a settlement demand package. We send that to the at-fault insurance company, the insurance company for the at-fault party. And we say, we hereby demand X amount of dollars to settle this case. Then they call us up and say, you're crazy, we're not going to pay that. And then we say, whatever, something very nice back.
Right,
and
of course.
Always nice. And then we argue back and forth until hopefully we can come to a resolution. All the while the client is involved. I will call the client and say, okay, here's where we're at today. I'll call you with the next move, and get their approval, to make sure I know where they're at. Because It's really the client's decision in the end. I can't decide. I cannot accept something without my client's approval.
Right. And
then if we can't come to an agreement, we file a lawsuit and we sue the other party, the at-fault driver, if it's a car accident, and their insurance company steps in and, defends them, and we move on from there.
Okay. And I know that the traffic laws in California can be complex. What are some of the challenges you face in auto accident cases, and how do you overcome them?
So when we're talking about the laws in California, one of the things is that negligence is not necessarily absolute. We have something in California called comparative negligence. And what that means is, let's say that somebody makes a left turn on a yellow light, where they believe that they had the right of way to go, and then somebody speeds up and hits them. It looked like they were going to slow down and stop, but instead they speed up and they hit them.
Trying to beat the light.
try to make the light, or sometimes just because people are angry
Okay.
and they use their car as a weapon. But anyway, let's just go with they're trying to speed up to make the light. Okay. So in that case, the person who hit you is at fault for the person that's making the left turn is usually the person that's at fault, right? Because you're not supposed to make a left if there's oncoming traffic. But here, it appeared that the person was going to stop. You'd have to have witnesses to this, but it appeared that the person was going to stop. And it may be that the insurance companies even just decide, hey, this is 50-50. Okay, it's half each driver's fault. That's comparative negligence. And ultimately that could be adjudicated in court, where a jury might decide that. When that happens, let's say that somebody's damages were, say their case had a value of $100,000, right? And say it went all the way to trial, and the jury awarded the person $100,000 for their pain, their suffering, their medical bills, loss of earnings, all that kind of stuff. But if they also say that the other party was only 50% at fault, the judge then will reduce the $100,000 to $50,000.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Totally. Yeah.
Okay. But
that's interesting. That's interesting because not every state has that.
No, some states are different, but here that's what it is. And there's so many different laws that go, like, you have statute of limitations. You have to make sure you get things done within a 2-year period. But if it's a government claim, you have to make sure that you get things done within 6 months. Certain things, and then other things are triggered by that. There's all kinds of things that you need to maneuver in California that people would not be aware of unless you're on my side of this thing.
Yeah, unless you have experience.
Yeah, and also right, if you have experience.
Yeah.
Experience in having done it wrong maybe once or twice.
Yeah, never.
Yeah, I always tell my clients, hey, listen, I've been wrong, 1,000 times before, and believe me, I'm going to be wrong in the future. So, we have to work this thing through and think it through very clearly.
Yeah, that's very honest.
Yeah, you have to be honest about that and not make rash decisions.
Right.
There's no reason to. There's always time to do it right.
I imagine that insurance companies are going to try to take advantage of someone.
Yes.
How do you ensure your clients aren't taken advantage of?
The way you do that really is, firstly, you have to not let the clients talk to the insurance company. Right. In California, they can't. The insurance company will not talk to someone who's represented. So that's the first thing. Secondly, is you have to, for me anyway, I like to try and honestly evaluate what my client's case is worth, right? In terms of their injuries, future pain and suffering, future treatment they might have, past, of course, from the accident. There's so many dynamics that go into it, the loss of earnings and all of that. And you have to make sure that the insurance company doesn't look at all that stuff and just say, oh, well, they had $5,000 in medical bills, and we think that another $5,000 for pain and suffering is good enough. See ya. So if I evaluate a case at a certain value, I think it's got a certain value based on other similar cases, then I'll just say, look, if we can't come to an agreement, I'm going to sue your insured, the person that was at fault, and we'll let a court decide or let a jury decide. And that's how you do it. You just don't let them walk all over you. Right. You can be nice about it. I always try to be nice. Because you get more flies with honey than with vinegar, right? But having said that, nice does not mean stupid. Nice just means it just means you're trying to get things done without everybody screaming at each other or whatever. But you still have to advocate for your client, and that's what you do.
There's a balance there.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And how do you go about determining the full extent of damages in an auto accident case, and how do you fight for fair compensation for your clients?
Every case is different. So, and the same injury could be different in different cases. Sure. For example, if somebody is right-handed and they break their wrist, okay, and they're going to lose full movement of their right hand, right? If they're an artist, a commercial artist, their damages are going to be maybe way, way, way greater than somebody who, I'm talking about loss of earnings damages, loss of future earnings, than somebody who does what I do, right? It would be painful, but I could still do what I do and so it wouldn't really affect my future earnings. So there's so many different components to damages. You have the loss of earnings, which we just talked about. You have pain and suffering. So if somebody has their shoulder messed up really badly, right? And their daughter just had her first baby, and now you can't hold your grandchild. Right. I mean, what's that worth, right? I mean, you can't put a dollar amount on that, but what's that worth? What would that that grandparent pay to be able, what would they pay to be able to pick up their grandchild? You know, so many different elements that go into it. Medical bills go into it, future medical bills. So there's no easy answer to your question, other than it takes a lot of work to figure out what the damages really are. Because to me, the pain and suffering is such an important or an integral part of somebody's damages. I'll oftentimes, throughout my client's case, throughout the pendency of the case, I'll send them an email and say, let's do a Zoom meeting. And I'll talk to them. I'll go, okay, how's your life been affected in the last few months? Are you getting any better? Are you still, can you go dancing yet? How's that scar on your face affecting how people are reacting to you? And how do you feel about it? And all those things go into the pain and suffering, because it's not just like, oh, boo-hoo, you know, somebody got hurt. Somebody's really hurt, like on so many levels, physically, emotionally, it's a lot. So that's why I can't give you an easy answer to that.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah, you're right. Like not everything can be quantified.
Right.
But you try and do your best.
Yeah, but the thing is, you're exactly right. Not everything can be quantified. Yet the only way to compensate somebody in our society, in our system, is with money. Right. Right. And so then, how do you quantify that? And you're absolutely right. Yeah. But that's all we have. That's the only thing we have to help to bring people back to even.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. And I talked to somebody else about this recently, that we don't do an eye for an eye in this country. So there's no, they don't have that option. So you're right. Money is how we make things right.
And this has nothing to do with money. I'm sorry, genuinely. If someone says, I can't tell you how many times someone has come to me with a case, legitimate case, but they weren't going to do anything about it, except they felt like they weren't being heard by the person that injured them. If they would have just said, I'm sorry, then they might have even moved on. Right. It's so important. People need to be acknowledged for what they've been through.
It comes back to that empathy thing and just treating people with respect, right?
Right. Yes.
We could do a whole series of episodes on that.
And we should.
All right. Well, thank you for tuning into Your Case, Your Justice, Personal Injury with Empathy with Lowell Steiger. To connect with Lowell, head to steigerlaw.com. And please be sure to like and subscribe to our channel and leave us a review if you can. Lowell, always great to talk with you. Thanks so much for being here.
Well, thanks, Kevin. It was great. I appreciate it.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button and leave us a review in the comments.